Hello everyone, welcome back to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 16th April 2021. In this video, we'll be talking about this couple of issues. Just transition to net zero. This article is about the challenges that are in the path when India wants to move towards a net zero carbon economy, that is carbon neutral economy, or a economic model which thrives on absorbing all the greenhouse gases that we are actually emitting. Even though India has one of the lowest per capita greenhouse gas emissions rates across the world, but the fact that the absolute number is a very big one is a cause of concern if we have to move towards our Paris Climate Deal targets. Therefore, whenever we are talking about greenhouse gas emissions, the biggest contributor for that is coal burning for electricity in our country. Now, unless and until we have some solution with respect to this, because nearly 40 to 50% or 60% rather, the entire electricity production in our country happens through this. Now, how are we going to address this problem wherein we stop using coal and move away to those kind of renewable energy models which do not emit greenhouse gas emissions? This is the challenge in front of us. Now, why is this a challenge? Let me explain. Across the developed world, whether it is US, whether it is Germany, where the Rhine Valley is famous for the excessive amount of coal that it produces, or US, which has traditionally exploited coal to the maximum possible extent, or many other economies like China have used coal so well for their economic development. Now, India is placed in a very unique position because till 2047, India is expected to have a demography which is characterized by 15 to 55 years age group population, and these people will be 60%. So, whenever we are talking about such a young population which requires a lot of jobs, energy requirement is prerequisite for ensuring economic activity. On one hand, we are forced to use more energy, and the business as usual approach will increase the greenhouse gas emissions. So that is a challenge. There have been many articles which say that India should not aspire to move towards this net zero carbon economy. Like, the reason is pretty obvious, because if we move towards renewable energy, and the expansion of renewable energy actually takes a lot of time, this window of period which is available to us in the next 2-3 decades, what happens is this population will age, and they, instead of becoming an asset, become a liability in their old age. This is the problem being faced by a lot of countries, including countries like Japan and UK, where loneliness, social isolation, all these kind of problems associated with the old age are occurring very rampantly. Now, India does not have the bandwidth to ensure social security for such a huge population also. Given all these facts, and most importantly, we are talking about a coal belt which is famous for its resource curse. Now, what do you understand by this resource curse? See, generally, these areas, like the areas of Jharkhand, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh, all these areas are minerally very rich. Also, you can include Chhattisgarh in this list. But the problem is, these areas have such a significant amount of poverty in the region that despite having such huge mineral wealth, the population which stays below this poverty line and at low income levels is so huge that these areas face something called the resource curse or resource curse. What it exactly means is, despite having the mineral resources, it could not get out of the trap of poverty. Now, if we completely stop moving for centuries together, this coal exploitation has been the traditional employment resource for this region. If that also stops, how are we going to deploy the skill set of these people, what alternative skilling can be done, how it will be done. Without having a concrete plan on all this, the author feels that it would be very expensive to even dream of a net zero economy. It sounds like a fancy word to politicians who might want to project a better image of India in a international forum or in a public meeting. But if you actually take a look at the coal value chain, the number of jobs it creates directly or indirectly, this region does not have an alternative. Whether it is the small scale coal mines we're talking about in the northeast region, or the subsistence coals which are being run by village commons using certain bordering farmer mines, what happens to all these people? So the challenge of moving them towards alternative sources of employment is still not clear. So given all these facts, we still have to figure out a plan to start implementing this vision of net zero carbon economy. Till then, it just remains as a fancy word without having a concrete plan according to the view of the author. That is the gist of this article. This article, titled "A Genetic Revolution That Aims to Manipulate the Very Basis of Life," is about the gene editing technology. So last year we have had a Nobel Prize in Chemistry for 2020, where two women scientists were given the Nobel Prize for the development of a method of genome editing. And this particular genome editing method was in news as well as previously asked twice in UPSC prelims exam. We're talking about the CRISPR-Cas9 tool, which has the associated Cas9 protein. Now let us understand what it actually means. So we're talking about the CRISPR technology, where this word CRISPR stands for clustered, regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. So what is the basis of this technology? How are we using the components of this CRISPR system to add, remove, or even alter specific DNA? So add, remove, and alter. This is the purpose. What are we altering? We are altering DNA, and within the DNA we are identifying certain genes and manipulating them. So this is the technology we are talking about, and this question has been asked twice in the exam. Cas9 is the protein with which we are working upon, and the technology as such, or gene cutting tool, gene editing tool as such, is CRISPR. So there are certain growing fears and concerns that this particular gene editing system can cause many social and anthropogenic issues. What are the issues that it might raise? So this forms the scope for bioethics in our GS4 syllabus as well, which is beyond the scope of this particular article. This particular article is talking about the applications of this technology and how we can manipulate the genes for achieving certain benefits in various fields. Now let us have a look. But before that, why is he calling this a genetic revolution? This is because it has a huge commercial impact as well. The first industrial revolution was all about machines. The second industrial revolution was about organizing these machines and scaling up. Third industrial revolution was about computers and the IT revolution. And fourth industrial revolution that we're talking about is all about Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, data, machine learning, and all this kind of stuff which is related to data. Parallelly, combining the sciences of biotechnology with artificial intelligence, we are actually looking at a future which has a significantly different application of this idea of gene editing, where it can alter the very face of humanity as well. Now, what are the applications that we're talking about? Firstly, if you're talking about agriculture, So it is being tried out in agriculture primarily to increase plant yield, quality, disease resistance, herbicide resistance, and probably sometimes uh, domestication of wild species as well. So this huge potential to edit genes using this tool has been used to create a large number of crop varieties with improved agronomic performance. Similarly, another area is genetic research. So these CRISPR systems are already delivering superior genetic models for fundamental disease research. So in the present scheme of things, let us understand and apply it to COVID. One primary reason we are struggling to identify what is causing this mutation is because we don't understand the genetic behavior or the way in which this viral RNA is actually manipulating our DNA. The mechanism keeps on changing. But if we have an artificial intelligence model based on this gene editing tool, probably can come up with better drug screening, therapy development, rapid diagnostics. It takes almost 1 day to come out with a result for RT-PCR, the test which has been treated as the gold standard for detecting COVID till now. But this rapid genetics can actually alter the time taken for COVID-19 detection as well, somewhere down the line. So we're talking about the correction of those kind of conditions which can actually be inherited from parents. So this is the genetic research where there is a huge scope. Next, we can talk about treatment as well. So at the present moment, even though we're talking about gene editing as a treatment for a lot of diseases, like say for example HIV is considered to be uncurable disease or something that can slowly take life away. Even if you take lifestyle diseases like cancer, diabetes, all this can be involved in therapeutics which could inactivate a disease causing gene or correct a genetic mutation. We're talking about even diseases like sickle cell disease, which is identified as one of the various diseases under the Disabilities Act 2016. So all this can be corrected with CRISPR technology. At the same time, there is another important application called the therapeutic cloning. So this is a process whereby embryonic cells, or the cells which are created after the fusion of the sperm and the egg of female, those are cloned to obtain biological organs for transplantations as well. So this is what we know as therapeutic cloning. So this is a sort of an advanced mechanism which we know in stem cells. So these are the various opportunities that we have with this idea of CRISPR. But beyond that, there are also certain issues like what happens if there is a genetic modification, genetic mutation in agriculture which disturbs the biodiversity of that ecosystem. We are trying to actually carry out germline editing, which means deliberately changing every gene. So how far is this germline editing safe? These are the sort of questions. But right now, all we know is if we can address these questions, we are actually looking at a future where things can be significantly better than what they are right now. We can create crops which are water efficient to handle the problem of water stress. So considering all these factors and addressing these issues, science as such, biotechnology can open up a Pandora's box for the future. This is the gist of this article and the essence that this author is trying to convey.